All right, hello. Thought I'd do a video on how to make your character attack. So I've been playing around with it the best way, and I have this one coded somewhat. It's not great. So this is Bailey's game, and I'm using this. I'm gonna get into a few things too in this video. So one of the reasons why I picked her game was her deep wall openings, and some of your games your boundaries on your screen switching are it's occurring too soon and your walls. So I'm actually going to go into a few things that everyone should do regardless of your game. And one of the biggest things that just kind of pops out to me is just how many variables and all the clutter that's going on. And so some of these variables we're really not paying attention to too much. And so we can go ahead and hide those. And that's a variable I created to do this. And I'll show you that and the direction. And I can understand maybe if you have your XY variable showing so that you can see where you're at on which board. But a lot of these variables you don't really need to have visible. Maybe have your coin counter. Okay. All right. So first, I want to go on to Bailey's character, her screen switching, and I want to adjust these boundaries so they're tighter to her game. So, for instance, I'm just going to get rid of them first of all, just deactivate them, pull them out of the code so I can walk up to the edge. And you can see here, down here, the X is 240 to the edge. That's her X position. So and her screen switching, she's screen switching at like 160. So that means it's happening right here. But there's all this room left. So I'm going to change that. And like I said, 240, we could do at least on this, we could do negative 220 and positive 220. And then when we come into the room, we want to be more on the edge as well. So I'm going to make this one negative 210. And, well, let me try something else. Negative 216, let's say. And 216. A lot of times I do 5 less, but I think the way the pixels are, it might be better with 4. Okay? And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to check this on the screen here, and it's 183. So we could get away with, why not 172 and negative 172, and then where we pop in at, let's call that negative 160, and this one 160. And I want everyone to take a look at how they're screen switching and adjust it. So now I'm fully walking up against, and you can see here I'm reappearing right at the edge of the screen, not like way into the screen. Right? And that's true over here. It's imperative that your wall openings line up perfectly when you do these switches. And you can come down to the edge and walk right against the wall to check to make sure you're not glitching. And you can see her wall openings are wonderful. All right, so I have this item, I have this sprite, and I'm going to be able to pick it up, and now I have the sword equipped. I press the space bar, and I have some animations to attack. All right, so which game will I do this on? So I'm going to go over to our classroom and open up our studio. And I'm going to pull in Elaine's game. I like some of the graphics here, and take a look at this. And just go right inside it. And we're going to start here. So she has, okay, almost the same character too. All right. And so I can move around and looking at the screen switching. And here's an example of that. So now if I walk right up against the edge, whoop, I glitched. And you can see that when I go down in here, that opening's bigger on that side. And if I come over here, it's nice. That's good. But this side, right, that opening needs to be fixed. So how you would go about doing that is going into that wall costume. And it appears like she already kind of stretched this, but we could stretch it a little more. All right. And now when I come up, I can't get that glitch. So that's been fixed. All right. So we're going to bring in a weapon. And so I'm going to just paint a blank sprite. All right. And instead of trying to find graphics, I went ahead and brought in, I'm going to just bring in some costumes that I have. How you obtain your pictures is part of the game of how to figure out how to make a game. And so I have a sword here. And what I'm going to do is make it so that when I start the game, forever, if touching my player one, which I don't know, it's right here, sprite one. This should be named player one. Okay, and now I'm all messed up. Going back to this, and I'm going to call this equip. I called it R equip last time, but in my main game, I think I call it R equip R, like that. So it's the right hand equipped item. All right. And so if touching player one, okay, then motion, go to player one. All right. And we're going to start the game though right here. And looks, we're going to be the costume sword. All right. And so I'm going to start the game, and there the sword's sitting, and I grab it, and now I have the sword. Great. Perfect. I like it. Okay. And now I'm going to go into my code, and I'm going to make a variable, and I'm going to call it direction. And okay. And this direction variable, I'm going to set to D. And really, I don't want to do that here. I'm going to go over to my player, and I'm going to do that on my main player. And she's got it over here, so we'll just put this right at the top and set the direction to down. I just think the game, you should start the game facing down. Just makes sense to me. And next I'm going to look at the movements, and I'm going to add this in right here. And so before any of the if else statements, like both ways, we want to set this to up. All right. And I'll go to the next movement, which is down over here. And so I'll duplicate this and put it right after that and say D. And That's all our movements, so the rest are up higher. So moving up, and there's my up arrow, and here's left. And so duplicate it, and I'm going to set direction to L, and moving up, and there's the right movement right after it. We're going to set the star. Okay. And so you see when I start the game, my direction is D. And when I walk to the left, my direction is left, direction is right. When I go up, it's up. Okay, that's good. All right. And now I'm going to go into my sword, into the costumes, and I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to call this one down. All right. And I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to call this one up, and duplicate it, and I'm going to have one on the left, and I'm one more time duplicate it and have one for the right. So now I have 4 costumes of the sword plus the sword. All right. And we're going to start with down. So what I'm going to do is walk over to the sword, pick it up. All right. And this is the down costume. All right. And you can see the sword is too big. So I'm going to make it smaller. And I'm going to move it and try to place it in the right hand. Also, I'm going to turn it a little bit. Like that. And I'm just trying to adjust it. Maybe it's a little too small. You can see it full screen here. Okay. It's not bad. All right. So, and everything is a little goofy. It like fell off. I'm not pulling it around anymore. But, and so, so let's give the sword some code, like switch costume to, and I can just go to variables and pull this direction and to direction. Okay. And I think what happens is when I turn that one direction, it's having a hard time. It's not touching me anymore, so then it stops. See when I turn from here, but I can fix that code in a minute. But you can kind of see that when it's switching to those other costumes, which I haven't changed yet. So I'm facing right now. And that's not what right should look like. Okay. It should be kind of like that. And it definitely needs to be smaller. All right. And I'm just trying to fit it in the hand. That's not bad. I mean, it's good for now. It's better than it was. A lot better. Whoops. How do I go to sounds? Okay. So now you see I have that way. And when I go to the right, so let's do left real quick. Dropping it. I'll have to fix that soon. And the sword should be the smallest here because it's on the other side of her body. Like way over there. There we go. All right. So down, left, and then we drop it. So I'll have to go pick it up. Oh, I just can't seem to keep it in my hands. There we go. And then up. Okay. So again, grab it. I'm going to turn it. I'm going to shrink it. Move it over. It's still kind of big. And there's a sword. All right. And it switches costumes with my direction. Now, it keeps falling off, so let's fix that. So if touching player, go to, so I'm going to make a variable, and I'm going to call it equip R. Okay. And I'm going to say if I'm touching player 1, set direction. No. Set equip R to sword. All right. And control. And I'm pretty sure I want if then else, but I'm just going to say if equip R equals sword. Okay. So now it's not dependent on me touching anymore. Like before, it was like once I stopped touching it, it like dropped. Now it's just there. And I just have it. I can't drop it anymore. Because we set it now when I reset the game, it's no longer on the ground because I didn't. What I need to do is I need to initialize my variable of equip R to, and we'll just call it empty. And now when I reset the game, R is not sword. When I touch the sword, I have the sword, and I'm walking around with the sword. All right. Okay. So the next part is to actually attack. And you could clean this up too. Like really I should have 2 different costumes for the sword as I'm walking because I have 2 different walking costumes. And that would take more time to film, but I hope that you could kind of figure that out. What I'm going to do though, and now that we're using the system, very soon you're going to want to switch over to that. So like these you would change to just R1, R2, so on and so forth. And so R1, R2, I'm going to take R2 and I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to convert her to bitmap. And I don't like that. It kind of made it blurrier. So I'm going to copy it, delete it, convert to bitmap, paste it in. And I'm just going to grab this arm, rotate it a little bit, and pull it back. Okay? And that looks terrible, but just bear with me. I'm also going to shrink it a little, pull it back, elongate it. No. Okay. And put this like patch of clothes back there. And just copying little pieces of it. And putting it back. Here's another piece I just pasted. Oh man, graphics are tedious. All right. All right, so we're going to call that R3. And then I'm going to call this one R4. And same thing, this is in vector, so convert it to bitmap. And everything is pretty good on this except for the way her arm is. And so I'm going to copy that. So I'm going to pull her arm off, set it aside, and I'm going to pull this down a little bit. Yeah, kind of. I just kind of want to make that like her back. It keeps looking like her arm no matter what I do. All right. And now I'm going to take her arm and go like that. Okay, that's not bad. All right. Okay. And so now in her code, and I'm just going to do this over here somewhere. I'm going to need a sensing key space. All right. And if then else forever. Bring in the initialization of it. All right. So if key space is pressed, and this is all about looks, we're going to change our costume to this join. Okay. And we have this variable direction. And then number 3. And when you're doing looks and things like this with costumes and costume switching to make it look like graphics, you have to add some wait times. You can adjust the times, but you just need to wait to actually see what just happened. Okay? All right. And so it was just to the right of her. So my directions are 3 and 4. And let me just reset. You can see I'm punching just to that one direction. I don't do it any other way because the costume is showing that. I did here. It's not great, but all right. Something that's telling me that I need to like go back to the original. So we'll just call this number 2, just so you can kind of see that after I punch, I'm punching. And you can see it like moving around a lot. And that has to do with the costumes not all being lined up exactly the same. All right. So while I'm at it, it doesn't matter that much, but I'm going to bitmap. And I'm going to put these, I'm just looking at that crosshair. I'm going to put it in the same spot for this character. For all of them. And you can see it was varying. It wasn't the same for all of them. All right. And now when you look at it, I'm not jumping around all over the place. I'm like standing in the same place. Wow. Just like glitched out. All right. So now when I pick up the sword, you can't really tell that's happening because I don't have costumes on the sword to do that too. So I basically want this same code. So I'm going to put that in my backpack. I don't know if that worked. So let me scroll down here. It did not. So I'm going to take this code, put it in my backpack, and I'm going to go over to the equip R, and I'm going to bring it in because I need the same code here. All right. And so the costume that I'm currently working on is to the right. So we'll duplicate this, and we need one called R3. No, R2. We're going to duplicate it. We'll have R3 and R4. All right. And we'll see what happens. Okay, they're all the same though. And so R4 should be the one that is like stabbing. All right. And it's not working. So direction, switch costume before, maybe if I reset. We should have at least been seeing the stab. No. Okay, it's because of this, saying this forever too. And so what I need to do is say, and if equip sword, okay, and not key pressed. All right. And now I'll reset. I'll try this again. And no. It should have worked. I'm not sure now. Construction is right. This is called right 4, and I should be seeing that at the end there. Okay. We'll figure it out. So I'm going to try something. I'm going to say, if not this, and then that. Maybe that'll help. I'm not sure why. What I believe is there it goes. There, finally. So what was happening was it was just constantly saying, no, you're telling me forever switch costume to this direction. And I'm saying, well, let me zoom out a little bit so we can see this whole code. And I'm saying, well, if then I'm not kept pressing the space key and let's do this. But else, if I am pressing the space key, then we need to switch to this. And it's still having an issue with it. So we'll try it again. It's working there for a split second at least. And there it is. Right. So now I can work on the costumes a little more. So R3 is going to be kind of like we're swinging back with the sword. So it's actually going to be more like this and over here like that. See that? I feel like the sword's too big. All right. And I was going to try this. Control copy. Kind of give it like a streaky look to it. Like it's in motion. I don't know. Do I like that? It almost looks like it becomes two blades. I'm going to delete that. All right. I like that. I think this could be a little smaller. And there, it's in our hand better. I like it. So there we go. And we're attacking. And if we wanted to do one left, it'd be, well, let's do down. So what would down look like? All right, so same thing. I'm going to duplicate these guys. We have D4. D4 is the main one. That's when you stab. Kind of like that. Yeah. And D3 is when you're like reaching back. So same thing. This is going to be tilted more. And it's going to be like, rawr. Yeah. And I would even go so far as now, I don't even think we have, where's her down costumes? All right, so we do like E1, E2, and so D2 is definitely D4. 2. Except for, so copy, delete it, map, paste it. All right, and this is definitely the stab, right? And my cat's driving me crazy. He's trying to get in the room. All right, so that's D4. And then D1 is going to be D3. And same thing, it's in vector, so I can't. I want. The difference is this arm, I'm going to take care just to grab the arm, is going to be turned like up, like that. All right. And now that I've changed the costumes, which I should have done on her first, now I got to readjust all these. Like you can see that the D2. So here's, no, it's D3. It needs to be, okay, cool. Yeah. And then the D4. Maybe. It happens so fast. It's not bad. Really feels like I'm swinging, you know? Boom. Boom. Okay. Around. It's looking really good. All right. I haven't made any left movements, but I think you get the idea there on how to do that for your different movements. and how to add this sword. So basically, again, you could hide this sword. From Word, I didn't put code in for that, but you wouldn't want to leave it just as it is because the sword's everywhere, right? If I go over here, it's on that board. We've dealt with items before, though. You can give it some code so that when you walk up to it, boom, now you have the sword. I mean, I don't know why that's glitching out on me. I was walking around and this was still highlighted. All right, so I'm pretty sure this video is already pretty long. I wanted to get into actually like making a rest position for your character and having 3 different costumes actually in each direction, and then your R4 would be reaching back to punch or attack, and your R5. One beauty of this, though, doing it separately instead of just adding it to your costumes is I can attack. Now that's no good. I don't like that. That shouldn't be happening when it's not equipped. But I can punch now without a weapon, right? And then I can equip a weapon, and I'm still punching, And that's kind of cool about it. Like, how would we make that so the weapon isn't punching? Well, it would be as simple as coming over here and clicking over. I got someone trying to come in my room when I'm recording. But anyways, it'd be as simple as, let's go into that code for that. And let's take a look here. So this cannot happen when, this only can be true when that's equal to sword. If and okay, there it is. All right, so now it's not going to do that. I'm just punching because the sword's not, equip R is empty, and so there we go. Pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and end here. Stay tuned for the next video.